Ever wished for something only to regret it? In 1997, Wishmaster clawed its way into horror historia, cult classic, drenched in dark fantasy, gruesome practical effects, and a djinn so evil he twists every desire into a nightmare. But where did this monstrous wish granter come from? This deep dive uncovers the true origins of Wishmaster, from its cinematic roots in 90s horror to the ancient myths of the Djinn, creatures of smokeless fire with a taste for trickery. We'll explore how folklore's morally ambiguous spirits became Wishmaster's pure apocalyptic villain, and why the age-old warning, "Be careful what you wish for," always ends in blood. A tale of fire, fear, and cursed wishes. Unveiling the Wishmaster is your last chance to learn the truth before you make your next wish. Would you risk 3 wishes? The 1997 film Wishmaster carved a distinct niche for itself within the horror genre, rapidly achieving cult classic status through its potent amalgamation of dark fantasy, a memorably malevolent antagonist, and an unreserved embrace of graphic practical effects. In an era of evolving horror tropes, Wishmaster distinguished itself with an elaborate creature design and a visceral, often gruesome visual style that resonated with a particular segment of horror aficionados. The enduring nature of its central concept and antagonist is further evidenced by the film spawning multiple sequels, cementing the Wishmaster Djinn as a recognizable figure in the horror pantheon. This report endeavors to dissect the true origins of Wishmaster, a concept that proves to be not a singular point of genesis, but rather a multifaceted construct. The emergence of Wishmaster in the late 1990s occurred within a specific cinematic landscape. This period witnessed a resurgence of the slasher subgenre, notably spearheaded by Scream, 1996, which brought a new wave of self-referential and deconstructive horror to the forefront. Against this backdrop, Wishmaster's commitment to a different style of horror rooted in overt fantasy, elaborate monster mythology, and a dedication to 80s-style practical effects allowed it to occupy a unique position. This deliberate choice can be interpreted as a form of counter-programming to prevailing trends, or perhaps a nostalgic appeal to audiences yearning for the tangible, effects-driven horror that characterized an earlier decade. Consequently, an important facet of Wishmaster's origin and subsequent impact lies in its strategic differentiation within its contemporary filmic environment, thereby attracting an audience, perhaps seeking alternatives to the dominant slasher cycle, or craving a more pronounced engagement with fantastical and monstrous horror. Ancient Whispers, the mythological tapestry of the Djinn. The malevolent Wishmaster of the film is not a wholly original creation, but draws its conceptual lifeblood from a rich and ancient wellspring of mythology surrounding the figures known as Djinn or Djinn. Understanding these folkloric roots is essential to appreciating both how the film adapts and how it diverges from traditional lore. Primordial spirits, Djinn in pre-Islamic Arabian beliefs and Islamic theology. Belief in the Djinn, Arabic Jinnah, Djinn, significantly predates the advent of Islam, with attestations found in pre-Islamic Arabian poetry and oral traditions. The precise origins of this belief system are not definitively clear. Scholarly theories propose that Djinn may have originated as animistic spirits inhabiting the harsh desert landscapes, or perhaps as pagan nature deities who were gradually marginalized as other divinities gained prominence. In pre-Islamic Arabia, Jinn were often associated with desolate, dark, and unclean places, and were sometimes held responsible for causing diseases, mental illnesses, or natural phenomena like storms. They were figures of both fear and, in some instances, veneration, with some communities offering them worship or seeking their protection. With the rise of Islam, the concept of jinn was integrated and recontextualized within a monotheistic theological framework. Islamic theology acknowledges jinn as supernatural beings created by God, existing in a world parallel to that of humans. A key tenet is that jinn, like humans, possess free will, ikhtiyar, are therefore accountable for their actions and can be believers, Muslims, or disbelievers, kuffar. The Quran states that jinn were created from a smokeless fire, marijin min nar, marijin min nar, contrasting with humans created from clay and angels from light. While generally invisible to human senses, jinn are believed to be capable of shape-shifting, often taking the forms of animals, commonly snakes, but also scorpions or lizards, or appearing in human guise, though sometimes retaining subtle animalistic features that might betray their true nature. Crucially, in traditional Islamic lore, jinn are not inherently evil entities. Their moral compass is varied, much like that of humanity. They can be good, bad, or neutral, pious, or mischievous. This nuanced portrayal stands in stark contrast to the singular, unadulterated malevolence of the jinn depicted in Wishmaster. While jinn are described as possessing various supernatural powers, such as their aforementioned shapeshifting, and, according to some traditions, the ability to fly or move with incredible speed, they are not considered divine or omnipotent. They generally have no knowledge of the future or the unseen, al-ghaib, beyond what God allows. While jinn are figures deeply embedded in Middle Eastern theology and folklore, their widespread recognition in the Western world, particularly the association with wish granting, is largely indebted to the collection of tales known as 1001 Nights.
I wish for the most exotic car in the world.
Alf Layla wa Layla, Alf Layla wa Layla, often referred to in English as the Arabian Nights. The first known English translation of these stories emerged around 1760, opening a window for Western audiences into a world of Middle Eastern magic and mysticism. It was through these captivating narratives that the figure of the Genie, a romanized and often simplified version of Djinn, became a staple of Western fantasy. In 1001 Nights, Djinn are frequently depicted as immensely powerful beings, sometimes of colossal size, with descriptions painting them as having legs like masts and mouths as big as caves, often possessing wings, formidable claws, and carrying large weapons. Their motivations and moral alignments within these tales are varied. A recurring theme is that of jinn who have been imprisoned for past misdeeds, often by powerful sorcerers or by King Solomon, Sulaiman in Islamic tradition, and who may offer rewards or wreak vengeance upon being released. Other jinn in the nights are driven by more relatable human-like emotions such as love, loyalty, or jealousy. They possess the capacity to dramatically alter human fortunes, capable of enriching individuals with vast wealth, granting their deepest desires, or smiting them with but a thought. Some jinn use their powers to manipulate humans, treating them as mere pawns in their own grand designs, while others exhibit fierce loyalty and serve human masters faithfully.
Wish for endless wealth.
The theme of "be careful what you wish for"
It never
is deeply interwoven into many of the jinn-related stories within 1001 Nights. The interactions between humans and these powerful supernatural entities frequently serve as cautionary tales, highlighting the potential for wishes to be misinterpreted, to come with unforeseen and unwelcome consequences, or for the jinn themselves to be capricious or outright malicious in their granting of desires. This narrative element from the Nights directly informs the central conceit of Wishmaster. The collection of 1001 Nights thus acted as a crucial cultural filter and amplifier for specific traits associated with jinn. While broader Islamic folklore presents a more diverse and theologically grounded understanding of jinn, the Nights tended to emphasize certain sensational aspects such as their immense power, their capacity for wish granting, often tied to their imprisonment and release, and their potential for malevolence or trickery. These were the characteristics that largely captured the Western imagination. The collection amplified the trickster, or dangerous power element, often overshadowing the more nuanced societal roles or theological considerations of jinn in their original cultural contexts. Consequently, the popular Western image of the genie became heavily skewed towards this literary filtered version. The Wishmaster Djinn, an evil, imprisoned, wish-granting entity whose primary function is to turn desires into nightmares, is arguably a direct descendant of this particular literary tradition popularized by 1001 Nights, rather than a straightforward adaptation from the broader, more complex tapestry of Islamic folklore. The film taps into the version of the jinn that had already been shaped and sensationalized for storytelling efficacy. Adapting the myth. How Wishmaster's jinn draws from and deviates from traditional lore. The jinn antagonist in Wishmaster is a complex amalgam, selectively borrowing elements from traditional jinn folklore while simultaneously introducing significant deviations to suit its horror narrative. Elements drawn from traditional lore. Origin from fire. The film's lore states that the jinn were born of fire when God breathed life into the universe. This aligns with the Islamic tradition that jinn were created from smokeless fire. Wish granting. The central ability of the Wishmaster Djinn to grant wishes is perhaps the most recognizable trait borrowed from popular conceptions of jinn, heavily popularized through 1001 Nights. While not a universal characteristic of all jinn in deeper folklore, it became a defining feature in Western adaptations. Imprisonment. The Wishmaster Djinn is initially trapped within a fire opal, a jewel, and is released by an unwitting human. This echoes numerous tales from 1001 Nights and broader folklore where jinn are imprisoned in bottles, lamps, rings, or other objects, often by powerful magic. Shape-shifting. The film's jinn demonstrates the ability to take on human form, notably as the suave Nathaniel Demarest, to move among and manipulate humans. This is a well-established power attributed to Djinn in traditional lore, who are known for their capacity to change their appearance, deviations, and horror-specific tropes, inherent and absolute evil. This is perhaps the most significant departure. Traditional Djinn, as discussed, possess a spectrum of moral alignments. Much like humans, the Wishmaster Djinn, however, is portrayed as an entity of pure, unadulterated evil, demonic in nature, whose every action is driven by malice and a desire to cause suffering and chaos. The film's internal mythology explicitly describes its djinns as demonic in nature, apocalyptic goal. The ultimate aim of the Wishmaster Djinn is to grant 3 wishes to his summoner, thereby opening a gateway to free his fellow djinn to inhabit and enslave the earth, or to call forth the legions of other djinns trapped beyond earth. This grand apocalyptic agenda of world domination or destruction is not a typical characteristic of most djinn encounters in folklore, which are often more personal, localized, or concerned with individual djinn rather than an entire species bent on conquest, soul collection. The film introduces the concept that the djinn needs to power the gem with human souls to achieve his goals. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Wishmaster, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with others. And remember, even wishes come with a hefty price tag.